Thank God my husband is gone. Now I can take over all the property.
Richard Adeyemi was a billionaire. Not the kind who inherited money from his father or grandfather. No, Richard built his wealth with his own two hands, sweat on his forehead, and determination in his heart. He was 58 years old now, tall, dark skinned, with grey hair at the sides of his head that made him look wise and strong. People called him Sir Richard everywhere he went. They bowed, they smiled, they begged for his attention. But Richard was tired. Very tired. Not tired from work, no. He was tired of something else. Something that was breaking his heart slowly every single day. Richard lived in a very big mansion in Lagos. The house was so big that you could get lost inside it. It had 12 bedrooms, a swimming pool that sparkled like diamonds under the sun, a garden full of roses and hibiscus flowers, and 6 cars parked in the garage. Everything anyone could ever dream of was in that house. But something very important was missing. Love. Real love. The kind that makes you smile from your heart. The kind that makes you feel safe when the world is dark. Richard had a wife. Her name was Gloria. She was 52 years old, light-skinned, always wearing expensive wigs, gold jewelry hanging from her neck and wrists, and red lipstick that she applied every morning before leaving the house. Gloria was beautiful, yes, but her beauty was only on the outside. Inside, her heart had become cold, like ice in a freezer. She no longer smiled at Richard the way she used to when they were young. She no longer kissed him goodnight or asked him how his day was. Every morning, Gloria woke up, painted her face, wore her best clothes, and rushed out to meet her friends at expensive restaurants and shopping malls. She spent Richard's money like water flowing from a tap that would never run dry. Richard also had 3 children. His first son was Marcus. Marcus was 32 years old, tall like his father, handsome, and always wearing designer suits that cost more than some people's yearly salary. But Marcus was not interested in hard work. He loved clubs, parties, fast cars, and beautiful women who only liked him because of his father's money. Marcus drove a red Ferrari and lived in a penthouse apartment that Richard bought for him. Every time Richard called him, Marcus was either too busy partying or too tired from partying the night before. Then there was Vanessa. She was 28 years old, Richard's only daughter, slim like a model, with long Brazilian hair that reached her waist, and nails so long and painted that she couldn't even type properly on her phone. Vanessa called herself an influencer. She spent her entire day taking pictures of herself, posting them online, and waiting for people to tell her she was beautiful. Her room was filled with designer bags, shoes, boxes stacked to the ceiling, and clothes she wore only once before throwing them away. She lived in the mansion with Richard but treated it like a hotel. She came and went as she pleased, sometimes not seeing her father for days even though they lived under the same roof. The last child was Junior. He was 24 years old, the baby of the family, light-skinned like his mother, with dreadlocks hanging down his back and earrings in both ears. Junior wanted to be a musician. He spent his days in the studio that Richard built for him in the mansion, making songs that nobody wanted to listen to. Junior was always asking for money, money for studio time, money for music videos, money for this, money for that. But whenever Richard asked him to sit and talk, Junior was always too busy scrolling through his phone or chatting with his friends. Richard sat in his big study one quiet evening. The sun was going down outside his window, painting the sky orange and purple. He looked around at the walls covered with certificates, awards, and pictures of himself shaking hands with presidents and governors. But his eyes stopped at one particular picture on his desk. It was old, the edges slightly yellow with age. In that picture, Richard was much younger, maybe 30 years old, wearing simple clothes, standing in front of a small shop. Beside him was Gloria, smiling with her whole face, holding baby Marcus in her arms. They looked so happy, so full of hope, so full of love. Richard picked up the picture with shaking hands and whispered to himself, "Where did we go wrong? When did my family stop loving me and start loving only my money?" A tear dropped from his eye and fell on the picture. He quickly wiped it away and placed the picture back on the desk. His heart was heavy like a bag of stones. He thought about his wife, who only came to him when she needed money for her expensive lifestyle. He thought about Marcus, who called him only when his bank account was empty. He thought about Vanessa, who smiled at him only when she wanted a new car or a new bag. He thought about Junior, who hugged him only when he needed studio money. For weeks, Richard had been feeling this pain in his chest. Not the kind of pain from sickness, no. This was the pain of loneliness. The pain of being surrounded by people, but feeling completely alone. He remembered when his children were small. Marcus used to run to the door screaming, "Daddy is home! Daddy is home!" and jump into his arms. Vanessa used to make him birthday cards with crayons and glitter, writing, "I love you, Daddy," in big crooked letters. Junior used to climb on his lap every evening and ask him to tell stories. Gloria used to wait for him with warm food and a warm smile, asking, "How was your day, my love?" But now everything had changed. Gloria waited for him with a long list of things she wanted to buy. Marcus waited for him with business deals that would benefit only Marcus. Vanessa waited for him with shopping receipts she wanted him to pay. Junior waited for him with studio bills. Nobody asked him how he was feeling. Nobody asked if he was tired. Nobody asked if he was happy. They only asked for money. 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 Always money. One person was different though. Richard's younger brother, Tunde. Tunde was 52 years old, short, dark, with a round belly and a smile that could light up a dark room. Tunde was not rich like Richard. He lived in a small two-bedroom apartment on the other side of Lagos. He worked as a teacher in a secondary school and drove an old Camry car that made funny noises when he climbed hills. But Tunde visited Richard every Sunday without fail. He came with nothing in his hands except his love. He sat with Richard in the garden, talking about old times, laughing about their childhood, asking Richard if he was truly happy. Tunde never asked for money. Never. And that made Richard love him more than anyone else in the world. Richard also had a personal assistant named Gozi. Gozi was a 5-year-old woman, short, chubby, with a kind face and eyes that noticed everything. She had worked for Richard for 10 years and knew him better than his own wife did. Gozi knew when Richard was sad, even when he was smiling. She knew when he was worried, even when he said everything was fine. She was loyal, hardworking, and honest. Unlike his family, Ngozi never asked for more than her salary. She was grateful for her job and treated Richard with respect and genuine care. Then there was Mama Chioma. She was the oldest housekeeper in the mansion. Mama Chioma was 68 years old, a short Igbo woman with grey hair, always covered with a scarf, wearing simple wrappers and blouses. She had been working for Richard for 25 years, since before any of his children were born. Mama Chioma cleaned the house, cooked special soups, and treated Richard like her own son. Every morning, she greeted him. "Oga, good morning, oh. How your body?" And she really wanted to know. She was not asking because she had to. She was asking because she cared. If this story is touching your heart, please don't forget to like and share. Let's continue. One Thursday evening, Richard sat alone in his study again. Everyone in the house was busy with their own lives. Gloria had gone to a party. Marcus was at a club. Vanessa was at a fashion show. Junior was in his studio with his friends, making noise they called music. The big mansion was full of people, but Richard felt completely alone. He stared at his phone. No missed calls from his children asking how he was. No text messages from his wife saying she missed him. Nothing. His chest felt tight. His eyes felt hot with tears he refused to let fall. Then suddenly, an idea came to his mind. A crazy idea, a painful idea, but an idea that would finally show him the truth. Richard sat up straight in his chair. His jaw tightened. His eyes became sharp and focused. He whispered to himself, I need to know. I need to know who truly loves me and who only loves my money. And there is only one way to find out. Richard picked up his phone and called his family doctor, Dr. Okafor. Dr. Okafor was a 60-year-old man who had been Richard's friend for over 20 years. When Dr. Okafor answered, Richard's voice was serious and low. Doctor, I need your help with something very important. Can you come to my house tomorrow morning? Come early before anyone wakes up. And please, come alone. Dr. Okafor heard the seriousness in Richard's voice and agreed immediately. I'll be there at 6 a.m., Richard. Is everything okay? Richard sighed. I'll explain everything tomorrow. Just come. The next morning, while the house was still sleeping, Dr. Okafor arrived quietly. Richard led him to his study and locked the door. For 1 full hour, they talked in whispers. Dr. Okafor's eyes grew wide with shock as Richard explained his plan. Richard, are you sure about this? This is very serious. Richard nodded firmly. I have never been more sure about anything in my life. I need to know the truth. By 8 a.m., Richard called his personal assistant Ngozi to his study. When she entered and saw Dr. Okafor sitting there with a serious face, her heart began to beat fast. Sir, is everything okay? Are you sick? Richard looked at her with tired eyes. Ngozi, sit down. I need to tell you something. And I need you to promise me you will keep it a secret. Ngozi sat down slowly, her hands shaking slightly. Sir, you are scaring me. What is wrong? Richard took a deep breath. Ngozi, I am not sick. But I am going to pretend that I am very, very sick. I am going to pretend that I am dying. Doctor, Okafor is going to help me with fake medical reports. I want to test my family. I want to see who truly cares about me and who only cares about my money. Ngozi's mouth opened in shock. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Sir, but why? This is very serious. Richard's eyes became watery. Ngozi, tell me the truth. When was the last time my wife asked me how I was feeling without asking for money in the same breath? When was the last time any of my children called me just to say they love me? Ngozi looked down. She knew he was right. She had seen everything. She had watched Gloria demand money for shopping every single day. She had watched Marcus only visit when he needed something. She had seen Vanessa treat her father like an ATM machine. She had heard Junior's constant requests for studio funding. She slowly nodded. I understand, sir. What do you want me to do? Richard held her hand gently. Just keep my secret. Act normal. Pretend to be shocked when I announce it. And watch carefully. Watch how everyone behaves. I need you to be my eyes and ears. Ngozi wiped a tear from her eye. Sir, this will hurt you very much. Are you ready for that pain? Richard smiled sadly. I am already in pain, Ngozi. I just want to know if the pain is real or if I am just imagining it. That evening, Richard sent a text message to the family WhatsApp group. The message was simple but shocking. Family meeting in the living room at 7 p.m. today. Everyone must attend. No excuses. This is very important. When Gloria saw the message, she was at the spa getting her nails done. She hissed and rolled her eyes. Why is this man disturbing me? Can't he see I'm busy? But she knew Richard never called family meetings unless something serious was happening. So she reluctantly cancelled her next appointment and headed home. Marcus was at his girlfriend's house when he saw the message. He was lying in bed, wearing only his boxers, scrolling through Instagram. Family meeting? Seriously, what does the old man want now? His girlfriend looked at him. Baby, maybe it's important. You should go. Marcus kissed his teeth. It better be fast. I have club reservations at 9 p.m. He got dressed lazily and drove home in his Ferrari, annoyed that his day was being interrupted. Vanessa was at a photo shoot when the message came. She was posing in front of a white background, wearing a tight red dress, while a photographer kept saying, "Beautiful, yes, walk it." When she checked her phone during a break, she frowned deeply. Family meeting? Ugh, this is so inconvenient. I have 3 more shoots today. But the photographer told her to take a break anyway, so she got in her white Range Rover and drove home, complaining the entire way about how her father always had bad timing. Junior was in his studio with 4 of his friends, recording a song about money and girls. They were smoking and laughing loudly when his phone buzzed with a message. He showed it to his friends. "Yo, my dad wants a family meeting." "This is so annoying." His friends laughed. "Maybe he finally wants to give you that album money." Junior grinned. "I hope so, man. Let me go see what he wants. I'll be back soon." He grabbed his car keys and left the studio, his mind already calculating how much money he would ask for this time. By 7 p.m., everyone had gathered in the large living room. The room was beautiful, with cream-colored sofas, gold decorations on the walls, a crystal chandelier hanging from the ceiling, and a large television that nobody ever watched because everyone was always on their phones. Gloria sat on one end of the sofa, checking her Instagram. Marcos sat on the other end, texting his girlfriend. Vanessa stood near the mirror, adjusting her hair and taking selfies. Junior slouched in a chair, scrolling through TikTok videos. Richard walked in slowly, wearing simple clothes, a white kaftan and brown slippers. His face was serious. Dr. Okafor walked in behind him, carrying a brown envelope. Ngozi stood near the door, her heart pounding, because she knew what was about to happen. Richard looked at his family. Nobody looked up from their phones. Nobody said, "Good evening, Dad." Nobody asked, "Are you okay?" They just sat there, waiting impatiently for him to talk so they could go back to their lives. Richard cleared his throat. "Put your phones down. All of you." His voice was firm and commanded respect. Slowly, one by one, they looked up. Gloria sighed loudly. Marcus raised his eyebrows. Vanessa stopped taking pictures. Junior paused his video. Richard stood in the center of the room, his hands clasped in front of him. Doctor Okafor stood beside him, looking somber and professional. "I called you all here because I have something very important to tell you," Richard began. His voice was steady, but his heart was racing. "Something I found out this week, something that will change everything." Gloria sat up slightly, suddenly interested. Marcus leaned forward. Vanessa put her phone down completely. Junior stopped slouching. The room became very quiet. You could hear the clock on the wall ticking. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Richard took a deep breath and said the words slowly, letting each one sink in like stones dropping into water. "I went to see Dr. Okafor 3 days ago because I was feeling very tired and weak. He ran some tests. The results came back yesterday." He paused. Dr. Okafor opened the brown envelope and pulled out some papers that looked very official with hospital logos and signatures. Richard continued, his voice now softer, almost breaking. "The doctor found something in my body. Something very bad. Cancer, stage 3, cancer. In my lungs and my liver." The word cancer hit the room like a bomb. Gloria's hand flew to her mouth. Marcus stood up suddenly, his eyes wide. Vanessa gasped loudly. Junior's phone slipped from his hand and fell to the floor. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The only sound was the ticking clock. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Dr. Okafor stepped forward, his face grave and serious. He was a very good actor. "I'm very sorry to confirm this news. Mr. Richard's condition is quite serious. The cancer has spread. With treatment, we can try to prolong his life, but realistically..." He paused, shaking his head slowly. We are looking at 6 months, maybe less. I'm very sorry. Gloria suddenly burst into tears, loud, wailing tears. She stood up and ran to Richard, throwing her arms around him. No, no, Richard, no, this cannot be true. Oh my God, what will I do without you? She cried into his chest, her body shaking. Richard stood still, his arms at his sides, not hugging her back. He just watched her. He watched how she cried. He listened to her words, but something in his heart told him to wait, to observe, to see. Marcus came forward, his face looking shocked, but his eyes were different. They were calculating, thinking, Dad, this is this is terrible news. Are you sure? Did you get a second opinion? Doctor, Okafor nodded. I sent the results to 3 different hospitals. They all confirmed the same thing. Marcus ran his hand over his face. Okay, okay, this is a lot to process. Vanessa was crying too, but softer, more controlled. She came and hugged her father from the side. Daddy, I can't believe this. You're so strong. You've always been so strong. Richard looked down at her. For a moment, he wanted to believe her tears were real. Junior remained sitting, his face pale, his mouth open. He looked genuinely shocked, like someone had punched him in the stomach. Dad, he whispered. Dad, you're going to fight this, right? You're going to be okay? Richard gently removed Gloria's arms from around him and stepped back. He looked at all of them, his wife, his 3 children, the people he had worked his whole life to provide for, the people he loved more than anything in the world. The doctor said, I need to start treatment immediately. I need to rest a lot. I need peace and quiet. I need my family around me. His voice cracked slightly at the end. I need to know that I am not alone. Gloria wiped her tears with the back of her hand, smearing her makeup. Of course, darling, of course, we'll be here. We'll take care of you. Everything will be fine, Marcus nodded. Yes, Dad, we're here for you, whatever you need, Vanessa sniffled. We love you, Daddy. We'll get through this together. Junior finally stood up and came closer. Dad, I don't know what to say. This is crazy. Richard looked at each of them one more time, then turned to Ngozi. Ngozi, please help me to my room. I'm very tired. Ngozi quickly came to his side and supported him gently. As they walked toward the stairs, Richard moved slowly, like a man who was truly sick and weak. The family watched him go, their faces filled with shock. When Richard and Ngozi disappeared upstairs, the living room remained silent for a full minute. Then Gloria spoke first, her voice suddenly different, sharper, more businesslike. We need to talk. Don't go anywhere. The next part will shock you. Please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Marcus, Vanessa, and Junior gathered around their mother. Gloria sat down heavily on the sofa, her tears already drying. She looked at her children with serious eyes. This is very bad news, she said quietly. Marcus nodded. Very bad. 6 months? That's so soon. Vanessa bit her lip. What are we going to do? Junior said nothing. He just stared at the floor. Gloria leaned forward and lowered her voice even though they were alone. Before anything else, we need to think practically. Your father is a very rich man. We need to make sure everything is in order. The will, the properties, the businesses. We need to know what happens to everything when. She didn't finish the sentence, but everyone understood what she meant. Marcus's eyes lit up slightly. You are right, Mom. We should talk to his lawyers. Make sure everything is documented properly. I mean, for legal purposes. Vanessa nodded slowly. Yes, and the houses. He has properties all over Lagos, Abuja, even in London. We need to know who gets what. Gloria looked at her daughter. Exactly. We need to protect this family's future. Junior suddenly stood up, his face confused and angry. Wait, wait! Are we seriously talking about his properties right now? The man just told us he's dying and you guys are already planning how to share his things? Marcus turned to his younger brother, irritated. Junior, grow up. This is not about being heartless. This is about being smart. Do you want strangers to come and take everything Dad worked for? Vanessa added. He's right, Junior. We're just being responsible. This doesn't mean we don't care about Daddy. Junior looked at all of them like he was seeing them for the first time. You people are unbelievable, he muttered. But he sat back down anyway. Deep inside, he was also thinking about his music career. If his father only had 6 months left, maybe this was his last chance to get that album money. Gloria stood up and straightened her dress. Tomorrow morning, I'll call the lawyers. Marcus, you handle the business side. Find out exactly what companies your father owns and what shares we have. Vanessa, you go through his documents in the study. Look for property papers, bank statements, anything important. Junior, she looked at her youngest son. Just stay out of trouble and try to spend time with your father. Junior nodded slowly, feeling like an outsider in his own family. That night, Richard lay in his big bed alone. The room was dark except for a small lamp on the bedside table. Ngozi had helped him change into his pajamas and had made sure he took his medication, which was actually just vitamin tablets that Dr. Okafor had given him to make the act look real. Richard stared at the ceiling, his heart heavy. He thought about his wife's tears. Were they real? He thought about his children's shock. Was it genuine or was it just surprise that their money source was ending? There was a soft knock on his door. Come in, Richard said weakly. The door opened and Gloria walked in. She had changed from her party dress into a silk nightgown. Her makeup was washed off and her wig was removed, showing her natural short hair underneath. She looked older suddenly, more vulnerable. She sat on the edge of the bed and touched Richard's hand. How are you feeling? She asked softly. Richard looked at her. Tired. Very tired. Gloria nodded. You should rest. Don't think about work or anything stressful. There was a pause. Then Gloria said, trying to sound casual, Richard, darling, I know this is not the right time, but we need to talk about arrangements. Richard's heart sank, but his face remained neutral. What arrangements? Gloria shifted uncomfortably. You know, business arrangements. What happens to the companies, the houses, the children's future, your will? Richard closed his eyes. There it was. Less than 3 hours after telling her he was dying, she was already asking about money. Gloria, I'm very tired. Can we talk about this another time? Gloria quickly backtracked. Of course, I'm sorry. I'm worried about everything. Forgive me. She leaned down and kissed his forehead. It was a cold kiss, a kiss without love. Good night, she whispered and left the room. When she closed the door, Richard opened his eyes. A single tear rolled down his cheek. He picked up his phone and sent a text message to Ngozi. It has begun. Just as I expected. Ngozi replied immediately. Sir, please, try to sleep. Tomorrow will be harder. Richard put the phone down and turned off the lamp. In the darkness, he whispered to himself, God, please show me that I am wrong. Please let me be wrong about my own family. But deep in his heart, Richard knew he was not wrong, and the next few days would prove it. The next morning, Richard stayed in his room. He told Ngozi to inform the family that he was too weak to come downstairs. Ngozi prepared a simple breakfast of oatmeal and orange juice and brought it to his room. Richard sat up in bed, looking perfectly healthy, and ate quietly, while Ngozi stood by the window, watching the house wake up below. What are they doing? Richard asked between spoonfuls of oatmeal. Ngozi sighed. Sir, Madam Gloria is already on the phone. I heard her mention your lawyer's name. Master Marcus left early this morning. He said he was going to your office to check on things. Miss Vanessa is in your study right now, going through your files. Richard stopped eating. His jaw tightened. And Junior? Ngozi's face softened a little. Junior is still sleeping. He came home very late last night. Richard nodded slowly and continued eating. When he finished, Ngozi took the tray and said, "Sir, your brother Tunde just called. He said he heard about your sickness from someone at the market. He's very worried. He's coming this afternoon." Richard's face finally showed some emotion. His eyes brightened. Tunde, thank God for Tunde. By afternoon, the whole house knew that Richard was very sick and staying in bed. Gloria moved around the house like a busy manager, making phone calls, writing lists, talking to lawyers on speakerphone. She had changed completely from the crying wife of yesterday to a woman on a mission. Vanessa sat in the living room with her laptop, going through property documents she had found in Richard's study. She made notes, highlighted important parts, took pictures with her phone. Marcus came back home around 2 p.m., went straight upstairs to his father's room without knocking. Richard was lying in bed, deliberately looking weak and tired. "Dad," Marcus said, sitting on the chair beside the bed. "I went to the office today. I met with Mr. Ahmed, your CFO. I told him about your condition. He was very shocked." Richard looked at his son with half-closed eyes. "Why did you go to my office without telling me?" Marcus seemed surprised by the question. "Dad, you're sick. Someone needs to start handling things. I'm your son. It's my responsibility." Richard said nothing. Marcus continued. "Mr. Ahmed showed me the company's financial reports. I wanted to understand the business better. You know, in case I need to take over soon." The words "take over soon" hung in the air like bad smoke. Richard's heart broke a little more. "Marcus, I'm still alive. I'm still the chairman of my company." Marcus quickly raised his hands. Of course, Dad. I didn't mean it like that. I just want to be prepared to help you." Richard turned his face away, toward the window. "You can go now. I need to rest." Marcus stood up, looking slightly offended, but he left without another word. When the door closed, Richard clenched his fist under the blanket. The pain in his chest was not from cancer. It was from betrayal. Around 4 p.m., there was a loud knock on the front door. Mama Chioma, who was cooking in the kitchen, rushed to open it. Standing at the door was Tunde, Richard's younger brother. Tunde's face was full of worry. His eyes were red like he had been crying. "Mama Chioma, where is my brother? Is it true? Is he really sick?" Mama Chioma's own eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Oga Tunde, it is true. Cancer. The doctor said 6 months. We are finished in this house." Tunde didn't wait for more information. He rushed up the stairs, 2 steps at a time, breathing heavily. When he reached Richard's room, he pushed the door open and saw his brother lying in bed. "Richard!" he cried out and ran to the bedside. He fell to his knees beside the bed and grabbed Richard's hand. "Brother, what is this I'm hearing? Tell me it's not true. Please tell me it's a lie." Richard looked at Tunde's face and saw real tears, real pain, real love. For the first time since starting this test, Richard felt guilty. He hated lying to Tunde, but he needed to continue. "It's true, Tunde. The doctors confirmed it. I don't have much time left." Tunde put his head on Richard's hand and began to weep like a child. "No, no, no. God cannot be so wicked. You are all I have. You are my only family that matters. What will I do without you?" Richard's own eyes became wet. He had to remind himself that this was a test. He couldn't break now. "Tunde, please don't cry. We all must die someday." Tunde lifted his head, tears running down his cheeks. "But not now. Not yet. You are only 58. You still have so many years ahead." Richard touched his brother's face gently. "Tunde, if something happens to me, promise me you will be strong." Tunde shook his head vigorously. Nothing will happen to you. I will take care of you. From today, I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay here and make sure you get well. Richard tried to protest. But Tunde, your job, your students. Tunde waved his hand dismissively. Job can wait. Students can wait. My brother cannot wait. You are more important than anything else in this world. And true to his word, Tunde went home that evening, packed a small bag of clothes, and returned to the mansion before dinner time. He told Richard, I'm sleeping in the guest room next to yours. If you need anything, anything at all, just call me. I'll be there. Richard watched his brother unpack his simple clothes, hang them in the guest room wardrobe, and felt his heart swell with both love and shame. Shame, because he was lying to the one person who truly loved him. That night at dinner, the family gathered at the long dining table. Richard refused to come down, saying he was too weak, so they ate without him. Gloria sat at the head of the table where Richard usually sat. Marcus sat on her right, Vanessa on her left. Junior sat quietly at the end, and Tunde, the new guest, sat next to Junior. Mama Chioma served jollof rice, fried chicken, and salad. Gloria looked at Tunde with slight irritation. Tunde, you don't need to stay here. We can take care of Richard. You have your own life. Tunde looked up from his plate, his eyes firm. With all respect, Sister Gloria, Richard is my brother. I'm staying. Gloria's lips pressed into a thin line, but she said nothing more. Marcus changed the subject. Mom, did you reach the lawyer? Gloria nodded. Yes, he's coming tomorrow morning. We'll discuss everything. Vanessa added. I found Daddy's property documents. He has houses in Victoria Island, Lekki, Ikoyi, and even one in Banana Island, plus the land in Abuja. Junior, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. Can you people stop talking about this at the dinner table? It's disrespectful. Marcus glared at him. You're just a child. You don't understand how the real world works. Junior stood up angrily. I understand enough to know that you people are vultures. He threw his napkin on the table and walked out. Tunde watched the whole exchange with sadness in his eyes. He realized that Richard's children had no love for their father. They only had love for his wealth. After dinner, Tunde went upstairs with a tray of food for Richard. He knocked gently and entered. Brother, you didn't eat. Mama Chioma cooked your favorite jollof rice. Please try to eat small. Richard sat up and Tunde helped him, arranging the pillows behind his back, placing the tray on his lap, even tying a napkin around his neck like he was a baby. As Richard ate slowly, Tunde sat beside him and talked. He talked about their childhood, about when they used to play football in the village with a ball made of old socks tied together. He talked about their late mother and how proud she would be of Richard. He talked about everything except sickness and death. Richard listened, smiled, and felt warm inside. This was real love. This was what family should be. When Richard finished eating, Tunde took the tray away and came back with a warm towel. Let me clean your hands, he said gently. Richard almost cried. When was the last time someone took care of him like this? When was the last time his own wife even asked if he had eaten? Tunde tucked him into bed like a child and said, I'll leave the door open. If you need me in the night, just call out. I'll hear you. Richard grabbed his brother's hand. Tunde, thank you. Tunde smiled through his tears. For what? You are my brother. This is what brothers do. Days passed. A whole week went by. Richard stayed in his room, acting weaker and weaker each day. Doctor Okafor came twice to check on him, and each time he told the family that Richard's condition was deteriorating faster than expected. Gloria's reaction was not sadness, it was urgency. She moved faster with the lawyers, getting documents signed, asking about bank accounts, even discussing funeral arrangements with an event planner. Yes, an event planner. She wanted Richard's funeral to be the biggest event Lagos had ever seen. Marcus spent more time at Richard's company than at the mansion. He started introducing himself as the incoming chairman to business partners. He bought a new suit and started acting like he owned the company already. He barely visited his father's room, maybe once or twice a week, and even then, he stayed for less than 5 minutes, always talking about business, never asking about pain or comfort. Vanessa continued her influencer lifestyle but added a new angle. She started posting on social media about her father's battle with cancer and how she was staying strong for the family. She posted pictures of herself looking sad, with captions like praying for my daddy number, cancer warrior number, family first number, stay strong. Her followers gave her sympathy, sent her messages, and her page grew more popular. She even did a sponsored post for a luxury skincare brand with the caption, even in hard times, self-care is important. Thank you at Luxury Glow for helping me cope during my father's illness. Number add number, grief, number, self-care. She made money from her father's fake sickness and didn't feel any shame about it. Junior was confused. Part of him felt genuinely sad about his father, but another part kept thinking about his music career. One evening, he gathered courage and knocked on his father's door. Dad, can I come in? Richard, lying in bed looking weak, said softly, come in, son. Junior entered and sat on the edge of the bed. He looked at his father's face and felt a lump in his throat. Dad, I've been thinking. I know you're going through a lot right now, but I just wanted to ask. He paused, struggling with his words. Richard waited patiently. Junior continued. You know, my music career is very important to me. It's my dream. And I was thinking, before before anything happens, maybe you could help me fund my album one last time? I promise I'll make you proud. I'll dedicate it to you. It'll be your legacy. Richard's heart cracked into 1,000 pieces. Even his youngest son, the one he thought might be different, was asking for money. Richard closed his eyes briefly, then opened them. Junior, I'm very tired right now. Can we talk about this another time? Junior's face fell with disappointment. But Dad, time is running out. The doctor said 6 months. I need to start recording now if I want you to hear the finished album before. Richard raised his hand weakly. Please, son, not now. I'm very weak. Junior stood up, frustration written all over his face. Fine, but just think about it, okay? This is important to me. He walked out, closing the door a bit too hard. Richard lay there in the dark room, his fake sickness suddenly feeling very real because of the pain in his heart. Meanwhile, Tunde had completely moved into the mansion. He set up a small mattress on the floor beside Richard's bed, refusing to sleep in the comfortable guest room. I want to be close in case you need anything at night, he explained. Every morning at 5 a.m., Tunde woke up, said his prayers, then checked on Richard. He helped him to the bathroom, supported him when he walked, gave him his medicine, prepared his food exactly the way he liked it. Tunde even started bathing Richard, washing his back gently, helping him put on clean clothes, combing his hair. Richard protested at first. Tunde, this is too much. I can manage. But Tunde would hear none of it. Brother, when we were small and I was sick with malaria, who carried me on his back to the hospital? You. When I had no money for school fees, who paid? You. When I wanted to get married and had nothing, who gave me money for the wedding? You. Now it's my turn. Let me serve you. Every evening, Tunde read to Richard from newspapers and books. He told jokes to make him laugh. He sang old songs from their village. He prayed long prayers, begging God to heal his brother. Sometimes, late at night, Richard would wake up and see Tunde kneeling beside the bed, crying and praying in whispers. God, please don't take my brother yet. He is a good man. He has suffered enough. Please, give him more time. Watching Tunde's devotion made Richard feel both blessed and guilty. Blessed because he had finally found someone who loved him unconditionally. Guilty because that someone was being lied to. but Richard had to continue the test. He had to see it through to the end. Mama Choma, the old housekeeper, also showed her true colors. She refused to let anyone else clean Richard's room. Only I will clean Oga's room, she insisted. Every day, she cooked special soups that she believed would make him strong pepper soup with goat meat, bitter leaf soup, egusi soup with plenty of stockfish. She would bring the food herself, sit beside him, and make sure he ate every spoonful. Oga, you must eat, she would say in her thick Igbo accent. Food is medicine. If you no chop, how your body goes strong. Richard would smile and eat, even when he wasn't hungry, because he didn't want to hurt her feelings. Mama Chioma also organized prayer sessions. She invited her prayer group from church. 5 elderly women who came every Wednesday evening spread a mat in Richard's room and prayed so loud that the whole house could hear them. Father Lord, Mama Chioma would shout, we bind every cancer demon. We destroy every evil seed. Olga Richard will not die. He will live to declare the glory of God. The other women would echo, Amen. Hallelujah. Gloria hated these prayer sessions. She complained they were too noisy and gave her headaches. But Mama Chioma didn't care. She told Gloria straight to her face, Madam, if prayer there give you headache, you can go out. We no go stop praying for Oga. Gozi, Richard's assistant, also continued to play her part perfectly. She pretended to be sad and worried whenever family members were around. But when she was alone with Richard, she gave him updates about everything happening in the house. Sir, Madam Gloria met with a lawyer again today. They spent 3 hours discussing your properties. Master Marcus told Mr. Ahmed at the office that he wants to change some company policies when he becomes chairman. Miss Vanessa posted another sponsored advertisement, using your sickness to get sympathy. Richard listened to everything, taking mental notes. Each piece of information was like a knife cutting deeper into his heart. But he remained strong. He had to know the full truth. One evening, Ngozi whispered urgently, Sir, I overheard Madame Gloria on the phone with someone. I think it was her friend, Auntie Patience. She was laughing. Sir, she said, and I quote, Finally, I can renovate this old house the way I want. That man and his boring tastes. Once he's gone, I'm changing everything. New furniture, new paint, everything. Richard's hands tightened into fists under the blanket. So Gloria was already planning the house renovation, already planning her life after his death. The woman he had loved for 30 years, the woman he had built everything for, was laughing about his death. Ngozi saw the pain in his eyes. Sir, I'm so sorry. Maybe we should stop this test. This is hurting you too much. Richard shook his head firmly. No, Ngozi, I need to see it all. I need to see how low they will go. Continue watching. Continue reporting. Ngozi nodded sadly and left the room. That night, Richard couldn't sleep. He lay in the dark, listening to Tunde snoring softly on the mat beside his bed, and he cried silently. Not because of fake cancer, but because of real heartbreak. This story gets more intense. If you're still watching, please drop a comment and let us know what you think. Will Richard reveal the truth? Keep watching to find out. 2 weeks had passed since Richard announced his sickness. The house had settled into a strange routine. Richard stayed upstairs, acting weaker each day. Tunde took care of him like a devoted nurse. Mama Chioma cooked and prayed. Ngozi managed the house and gave Richard secret reports. Gloria, Marcus, Vanessa, and Junior continued with their plans, barely hiding their eagerness for Richard's death anymore. One Saturday morning, Gloria organized a family meeting in the living room. This time, Richard was not invited. It was just Gloria and the 3 children. Tunde was upstairs with Richard, and Mama Chioma was in the kitchen. Gloria sat at the head of the table, looking very serious and businesslike. She had printed documents spread out in front of her. Okay, children, we need to discuss important matters, Gloria began. According to the lawyer, Your father's will was made 10 years ago. At that time, everything was divided equally among all of us. But things have changed. The companies have grown. New properties have been bought. We need to make sure we know exactly what belongs to whom. Marcus leaned forward, very interested. So, what are we looking at exactly? Gloria put on her reading glasses and picked up a document. Your father owns 60% shares in Adeyemi Holdings, his main company. I own 15% as his wife. The remaining 25% is divided among you three children. But beyond that, there are properties, 5 houses, 3 plots of land, and investment accounts in 3 banks. Vanessa's eyes widened. How much money are we talking about? Gloria glanced at another paper. Roughly 800 million naira in liquid assets, plus the properties worth about 2 billion naira, plus the company valued at 5 billion naira. Junior whistled softly. Even he, who pretended not to care about money, was impressed. Marcus did quick calculations in his head. So we're talking about almost 8 billion naira total? Gloria nodded. Yes, approximately. But here's the problem. Your father can still change his will anytime. And given his spiritual state lately, he might decide to do something foolish, like give money to charity or the church, or... She paused and lowered her voice. Or to Tunde. All 3 children looked at their mother in alarm. Tunde? Marcus repeated. Why would Dad give anything to Uncle Tunde? Gloria leaned back and crossed her arms. Because Tunde has been here every single day, acting like a saint, taking care of your father, like he's the only one who cares. Your father is emotional right now. Sick people make foolish decisions. We need to make sure the will stays as it is. Vanessa frowned. But Mom, how do we do that? Gloria smiled cunningly. We make sure your father is comfortable, happy, and doesn't suspect anything. We visit him regularly, show love, act concerned. And most importantly, we stay close to the lawyer and make sure no changes are made to any documents without our knowledge. Marcus nodded slowly, understanding his mother's strategy. Smart. Very smart. Junior, however, looked uncomfortable. This feels wrong. We're literally planning what to do with Dad's money while he's still alive upstairs. Gloria shot him an annoyed look. Junior, don't be naive. This is how the world works. Do you think rich families just sit and cry when someone is dying? No. They plan. They strategize. They protect their interests. Marcus added, She's right, Junior. We're not being wicked. We're being smart. Besides, Dad would want us to be comfortable after he's gone. Vanessa agreed. Exactly. We're securing our future. There's nothing wrong with that. Junior said nothing more, but his face showed he wasn't convinced. Upstairs, Tunde was helping Richard sit up in bed when they heard loud laughter from downstairs. Tunde frowned. How can they be laughing so loud when you are here suffering? Richard sighed. Let them laugh, Tunde. Let them be happy. But inside, Richard's heart was bleeding. His family was downstairs, laughing and planning how to share his wealth, while he lay upstairs supposedly dying. The irony was bitter. That afternoon, Gloria made a rare visit to Richard's room. She knocked softly and entered with a big smile on her face. Darling, how are you feeling today? Richard looked at her with tired eyes. The same, weak, tired. Gloria sat on the edge of the bed and touched his hand. Her touch was cold, mechanical, like she was touching a stranger. Richard, I've been thinking, she began carefully, about us, about our life together. We've had 30 good years, haven't we? Richard nodded slowly. Yes, we have, Gloria continued, choosing her words carefully. I know I haven't always been the perfect wife. I know I love shopping and parties and my friends. But I want you to know that I appreciate everything you've done for this family. Richard studied her face. Was this genuine? Or was this part of her plan? Thank you, Gloria, he said simply. Gloria squeezed his hand gently. Richard, I also want to make sure that when you're gone, everything you worked for is protected. The children's future is secure. The family name continues strong. There it was. Richard's suspicions were confirmed. She wasn't here to comfort him. She was here to make sure the money stayed in her hands. What do you mean? Richard asked, pretending to be confused. Gloria smiled sweetly. I mean, you should make sure all your documents are in order. The will is updated. Everything is clear and legal. We don't want any problems later. Richard's voice became slightly firmer. Gloria, everything is already in order. My lawyer has everything. Gloria's smile flickered for a second. Yes, yes, of course. I just thought maybe we should review it together. Make sure we haven't forgotten anything. Richard closed his eyes. I'm too tired to think about these things now. Please, let me rest. Gloria stood up, slightly frustrated but still maintaining her sweet voice. Of course, darling. Rest well. I'll check on you later. She left the room, and the moment the door closed, her sweet expression vanished, replaced by a calculating frown. Richard opened his eyes and stared at the ceiling. The woman he had loved for 3 decades had just revealed her true heart. She didn't care about him. She cared about his money. That evening, Marcus visited his father's room. He came in wearing an expensive suit, smelling of cologne, looking very official. Dad, I hope you're feeling better today. Richard nodded weakly. Marcus pulled up a chair and sat close. Dad, I want to talk to you about the company. I've been going to the office every day, learning the business, meeting with clients and partners. Richard looked at his son. I didn't ask you to do that. Marcus seemed surprised. But Dad, someone has to keep things running. You're not well. The company needs leadership. Richard's voice was soft but firm. Marcus, I'm still alive. The company still has me. Mr. Ahmed is perfectly capable of managing things until I'm better. Marcus laughed nervously. Dad, with all due respect, the doctor said 6 months. We need to be realistic. I'm your son. I'm next in line. It makes sense for me to start taking over now, so the transition is smooth when... He couldn't finish the sentence, but the meaning was clear. When you die. Richard felt anger rising in his chest, but he controlled it. He needed to see how far Marcus would go. And what about the other board members? What do they think about you suddenly taking over? Marcus shrugged. Some of them are old-fashioned. They don't understand that young blood is what the company needs. But I'll win them over. I have plans, Dad. Big plans. I want to expand into tech, into cryptocurrency, into international markets. Richard listened quietly. Everything Marcus was saying proved that his son didn't respect what he had built. Marcus saw the company as a toy to play with, not as a legacy to protect. Marcus, I'm very tired. We'll talk about this another time. Marcus stood up, looking disappointed. Okay, Dad, but think about what I said. Time is running out. That phrase again. Time is running out. Marcus left the room, and Richard let out a long, sad breath. The next day, Vanessa came to visit. She entered the room looking beautiful as always, wearing a tight dress, full makeup, long nails, painted bright pink. She carried her phone in one hand, as usual. Daddy, she said in a sweet, childish voice. How are you feeling? Richard smiled weakly. I'm okay, my daughter. Vanessa sat down and immediately started talking about herself. Daddy, you won't believe what happened yesterday. I got a partnership deal with a big fashion brand. They want me to be their ambassador. Isn't that amazing? Richard nodded. That's good, Vanessa. She continued excitedly. And my Instagram followers have reached 500,000. People love my content. They love seeing the real me, showing my vulnerable side during this difficult time with you. Richard's eyes narrowed slightly. You've been posting about my sickness? Vanessa looked at him innocently. Well, yes. People need to know what I'm going through. It's authentic content, Daddy. It helps others who are going through similar situations. Plus, it's giving me so much engagement. My posts are getting thousands of likes and comments. Richard felt sick to his stomach, but not from cancer. His daughter was using his supposed death as social media content for likes and followers. Vanessa, do you ever think about anything besides your phone and your followers? Vanessa looked offended. Daddy, that's not fair. My career is important. You always taught us to work hard and build something for ourselves. Richard shook his head sadly. I taught you to work hard with integrity, not to exploit your own father's suffering for Instagram likes. Vanessa's face hardened. You don't understand modern business, Daddy. This is how influencing works. I use my real life to connect with my audience. There's nothing wrong with that. Richard turned his face away. Please leave, Vanessa. I need to rest. Vanessa stood up, hurt and angry. Fine, but don't blame me for being smart about my career. She walked out, making sure to take a selfie in the hallway with the caption, Visiting Daddy, pray for us, before she even reached downstairs. Junior was the last to visit that week. He came in looking nervous, fidgeting with his hands. Dad, can we talk? Richard nodded. Sit down, son. Junior sat and looked at his father with genuine concern in his eyes. For a moment, Richard felt hope. Maybe Junior was different. Maybe his youngest child truly cared. Dad, I've been thinking a lot about what you said last time. Junior began. About the album funding. Richard's hope began to fade. And I realized something. This might be my last chance. Your last chance to see me succeed. Your last chance to witness my dream come true. Richard's heart sank completely. Even Junior, his baby, was thinking only about money and dreams, not about his father's life. So I was wondering, Junior continued, if you could just sign a check for the album production, it's only 10 million naira. I know that's a lot, but it's a small price compared to leaving a legacy. Imagine, years from now, people will listen to my music and say, Richard Adeyemi's son made this. His father believed in him. Isn't that beautiful? Richard closed his eyes, trying to hold back tears. Junior, what if I told you I don't have 10 million naira to spare right now? Junior's face fell. But Dad, you're a billionaire. You have plenty of money. Richard opened his eyes and looked straight at his son. So you only came here to ask for money, not to spend time with me? Not to talk to me? Not to comfort me? Junior shifted uncomfortably. That's not what I meant. Of course, I care about you, but this is also important. Can't both things be true? Richard shook his head slowly. Get out, Junior. Just get out. Junior stood up, confused and hurt. Dad, why are you being like this? Richard's voice rose slightly. Because I'm supposedly dying and all you can think about is your music career. Get out. Junior left quickly, slamming the door behind him. The moment he was gone, Richard broke down. He covered his face with his hands and wept. Tunde, who had been sitting quietly in the corner the whole time, came quickly and sat beside him. Brother, why are you crying? Are you in pain? Should I call the doctor? Richard shook his head, tears streaming down his face. The pain is not in my body, Tunde. It's in my heart. All three of my children, all three of them. They don't love me. They love my money. Tunde pulled Richard into his arms and let him cry on his shoulder. Shh, brother, don't cry. You still have me. I love you. Not your money. You. Richard cried like a baby in his brother's arms. All the pain, all the disappointment, all the heartbreak came pouring out. He cried for the family he thought he had. He cried for the love he thought he was building all these years. He cried for the wasted decades of working hard to provide for people who only saw him as a bank account. After Richard calmed down, Tunde helped him lie back on the bed and covered him with a blanket. Brother, you need to rest now. Tomorrow is another day. Richard grabbed Tunde's hand tightly. Tunde, promise me something. Promise me that when this is all over, you'll never leave me. You're the only real family I have. Tunde's eyes filled with tears. Brother, I will never leave you. Even when you're old and grey and can't walk anymore, I'll be there pushing your wheelchair. Even when you forget my name, I'll be there reminding you. Even when you have nothing left, I'll be there sharing my own small plate of food with you. That's what brothers do. Richard smiled through his tears. How did I get so lucky to have you as a brother? Tunde smiled back. God knew you would need me one day. That's why he gave us to each other. That night, Richard slept better than he had slept in weeks, knowing that at least one person in the world truly loved him. The next morning, Dr. Okafor came for another checkup. He examined Richard while Tunde waited outside. When they were alone, Dr. Okafor whispered, Richard, are you sure you want to continue this? I can see it's destroying you emotionally. Richard nodded firmly. I need to see it through to the end, doctor. I need to see how far they'll go. Dr. Okafor sighed. Okay, but I'm worried about you. This kind of emotional stress can actually make you sick for real. Richard managed a weak smile. Don't worry about me. Just help me finish this test. We're almost at the end. Doctor, Okafor packed his medical bag and nodded. Alright, I'll make an announcement today that will move things to the final stage. Dr. Okafor went downstairs where the family was having breakfast. Gloria, Marcus, Vanessa, and Junior all looked up expectantly when he entered the dining room. Doctor, how is he? Gloria asked with fake concern. Dr. Okafor's face was grave. I'm afraid I have bad news. Mr. Richard's condition has deteriorated much faster than we expected. Everyone froze. Marcus put down his fork. What do you mean? Dr. Okafor continued. The cancer has spread aggressively. His organs are starting to fail. Based on my examination this morning, I would say he has perhaps 1 week left. Maybe 2 at most. I'm very sorry. Gloria gasped dramatically, her hand flying to her mouth. But if you looked closely at her eyes, you could see something else there. Not sadness, something darker. Relief maybe? Or eagerness. Marcus's face showed shock, but also a hint of anticipation. Vanessa started crying, but her tears seemed forced, practiced. Junior looked genuinely disturbed, his face pale. 1 week? Gloria repeated. Are you absolutely sure, doctor? Doctor. Okafor nodded solemnly. I'm afraid so. I suggest you all spend as much time with him as possible. Say everything you need to say. Make your peace, because time is running out very quickly now. The doctor left, and the dining room was silent for a moment. Then Gloria stood up suddenly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. I need to make some calls, she said, and rushed out. Marcus pulled out his phone immediately and started texting. Vanessa wiped her fake tears and started typing on her phone, probably composing her next Instagram post. Only Junior sat there, staring at his untouched food, looking lost. Upstairs, Richard had heard everything through the baby monitor that Ngozi had secretly installed in the dining room. He lay in bed, listening to his family's reactions to his approaching death, and felt absolutely nothing. No more pain, no more disappointment, just emptiness. He had his answer. His family didn't love him. They were just waiting for him to die so they could inherit his wealth. 1 more week, Richard whispered to himself. In 1 more week, I'll show them who I really am. I'll show them what they've lost. The end is near, but the biggest surprise is coming. Don't stop watching now. Like, share, and subscribe to see how this story ends. You won't believe what happens next. The announcement that Richard had only 1 week left to live changed everything in the house. The atmosphere became strange, tense, almost electric. It was like everyone was waiting for something to happen, watching the clock, counting down the days. Gloria moved through the house like a woman preparing for a big event. She met with the funeral planner 3 times that week, choosing flowers, caskets, venues. She even selected the menu for the after-funeral reception. We'll serve small chops, rice, goat meat, fish, and champagne, she told the planner, going through a catalogue like she was planning a wedding. I want white roses everywhere. and make sure the casket is gold plated. People need to see that Richard Adeyemi was a man of class. The planner nodded, taking notes. What about the service program? Who will give the eulogies? Gloria thought for a moment. Marcus will speak first, representing the children. Then maybe some business partners, and I'll speak last. She smiled at the thought. I'll wear black Versace, the one with the lace details. Very elegant, very widow. The funeral planner looked at her strangely, but said nothing. She had seen many grieving families, but this woman seemed more excited about the funeral than sad about the death. Marcus spent that week at Richard's office every single day. He started rearranging things, moving furniture, changing passwords, accessing files he had no permission to access. Mr. Ahmed, the CFO, confronted him one afternoon. Master Marcus, with all due respect, your father is still alive. You cannot just take over his office like this. Marcus looked at the old man with contempt. Mr. Ahmed, my father is dying. Someone needs to prepare for the transition. Would you rather the company collapse into chaos? Mr. Ahmed stood his ground. Your father built this company with his blood and sweat for 40 years. The least we can do is respect him by waiting until the proper time. Marcus's face hardened. Let me be very clear, Mr. Ahmed. When I become chairman next week, you'll be the first person I replace. Your old-fashioned ideas have no place in the new Adeyemi Holdings. Mr. Ahmed's eyes filled with tears, not for himself, but for Richard, who had no idea his son was already destroying his legacy. Vanessa went on a posting spree that week. Every day, multiple times a day, she posted updates about her journey through grief. She posted pictures of herself looking sad, with captions like, holding on to hope, even when it's slipping away, number daddy's girl, number cancer sucks, number stay strong. She posted videos of herself crying, talking about childhood memories with her father. Her followers ate it up, sending thousands of sympathetic messages. Her follower count grew to 700,000. She even went live one evening with tears streaming down her face, talking about how hard it was to watch her father die. It's the hardest thing I've ever been through, she told her viewers, dabbing her eyes carefully so her makeup wouldn't smear too much. But I'm staying strong for him. I want his last days to be filled with love. The comments flooded in. You're so brave. Praying for you. Your dad is lucky to have you. What Vanessa didn't tell her viewers was that she had only spent a total of maybe 30 minutes with her actual father that entire week. But she spent hours taking sad selfies and recording crying videos. Her grief was for the camera, not for her father. Junior, on the other hand, seemed genuinely affected. He stopped going to the studio. He stopped hanging out with his friends. He spent most of his time in his room thinking. One afternoon, he went to his father's room and knocked softly. Dad, can I come in? Richard, still playing his role, said weakly, Come in, my son. Junior entered and sat beside the bed. For a long time, he didn't say anything. He just sat there, looking at his father's face. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Dad, I'm sorry. Richard looked at him with surprise. Sorry for what? Junior's eyes filled with real tears. For being selfish. For only thinking about my music and my dreams. For not asking how you're feeling. For not spending time with you. For being a bad son. Richard's heart softened a little. Maybe Junior was different after all. Maybe there was still some good in him. It's okay, Junior, Richard said gently. Junior shook his head. No, it's not okay. I've been so blind. So stupid. I thought I had all the time in the world to make you proud. I thought I could just get the money and then later, when I'm successful, we'd have time to really talk and bond. But now, his voice broke. Now time is running out, and I haven't even told you I love you. A single tear rolled down Richard's cheek. It wasn't part of the act. It was real. Junior, do you mean that? Do you really love me? Junior grabbed his father's hand and held it tight. Yes, Dad, I love you. Not your money, not your houses, not your cars. You, just you. And I'm so sorry it took me this long to realize it. Richard wanted to tell him everything. Wanted to say, son, I'm not really dying. This is all a test. But he couldn't. Not yet. He had to see it through. Thank you, son, Richard said softly. That means more to me than you know. Junior stayed with his father for 2 hours, just sitting there, holding his hand, talking about memories, apologizing, crying. When he finally left, Richard felt confused. Was Junior genuine, or was this just another performance? Tunde, meanwhile, had become like Richard's shadow. He barely left his side. He slept on the mat beside the bed every night. He woke up every 2 hours to check if Richard needed anything. He hand-fed him, bathed him, dressed him, read to him, prayed over him. The other family members found Tunde's devotion irritating. Gloria especially. Tunde, you don't have to be here 24 hours a day, Gloria said to him one morning. We have nurses. We can hire professional help. Tunde looked at her calmly. With all respect, Sister Gloria, my brother doesn't need nurses. He needs family. He needs people who love him. Gloria's jaw tightened. We all love him, Tunde. We're his wife and children. Tunde stared at her for a long moment, then said quietly, love is not just words, Sister Gloria. Love is action. Love is sacrifice. Love is showing up even when it's inconvenient. Gloria had no response to that. She turned and walked away, muttering under her breath. Mama Chioma continued her prayer warfare. She doubled her efforts, bringing her entire church choir to the house one Wednesday evening. 20 people gathered in the living room, singing, clapping, praying, commanding cancer to leave, declaring life and healing over Richard. Gloria was furious. She confronted Mama Chioma in the kitchen afterward. Mama Chioma, you cannot bring all these people into my house without asking me first, Gloria shouted. Mama Chioma didn't even flinch. She turned from the pot she was stirring and looked Gloria straight in the eye. Madam, this na Oga Richard house, no be your house, and if prayer dey pain you, then something wrong with you. We go continue to pray whether you like am or not. Gloria opened her mouth to respond but found no words. How could she argue against prayers for her dying husband without revealing that she didn't actually want him to recover? She stormed out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind her. Mama Chioma smiled to herself and continued cooking. Friday came. According to Dr. Okafor's announcement, Richard had only 2 or 3 days left to live. The house felt like it was holding its breath. That evening, Gloria called another family meeting. This time, she included Tunde because he refused to leave Richard's side and someone needed to watch over the dying man. Gloria stood in the living room, looking at Marcus, Vanessa, and Junior. Children, we need to prepare ourselves. The doctor says it could happen anytime now. This weekend. Maybe Monday at the latest. We need to be strong. We need to be united as a family. Marcus nodded seriously. Mom's right. We also need to make sure all the business is handled properly. No confusion, no complications. Vanessa wiped imaginary tears from her eyes. I just can't believe Daddy is really leaving us. Junior said nothing. He just stared at the floor, his face troubled. Gloria continued. I've arranged everything for the funeral. It will be next Saturday. That gives us a week after it happens. The governor has confirmed he'll attend. The Anglican bishop will conduct the service. It will be the biggest funeral Lagos has seen this year. There was something disturbing about how excited Gloria sounded, like she was announcing a party, not a funeral. Marcus added, I've also contacted all the major newspapers. They'll run full-page obituaries. Billionaire Richard Adeyemi, visionary businessman, loving father. I've already written most of it. Junior suddenly stood up. his face twisted with anger. You people are sick. Do you hear yourselves? You're planning his funeral while he's still breathing upstairs. You're writing his obituary. You're choosing your outfit. What is wrong with all of you? Gloria looked at him with irritation. Junior, sit down. You're being dramatic. But Junior didn't sit down. I'm being dramatic? Dad is lying upstairs, probably in pain, probably scared, probably lonely, and you people are down here dividing up his properties like vultures. I'm ashamed to be part of this family. Marcus stood up and grabbed Junior's arm. Watch your mouth, little brother. You think you're better than us. You asked him for 10 million naira just last week. Junior yanked his arm free. Yes, I did. And I'm ashamed of that. But at least I had the decency to feel guilty about it. You people don't even feel anything. You're just waiting for him to die like you're waiting for Christmas presents. Vanessa joined in. Junior, stop being self.